It's Christmas time, and I have fun wintry holiday riddles for you to solve. Let's start with a few optical illusions to train your eyes. First, look at this cubical tree. Which way do the cubes face? Both ways, actually, depending on how you look. Take your time and try to see them facing both ways. And in this illusion, you can see 7 candy canes. What do you say? Are they parallel? The diagonal lines make it way trickier. It definitely doesn't look like the canes are parallel, but they are. If you don't believe me, take a ruler and check for yourself. Another tricky question for you. Which one of the red snowflakes is bigger? A trick question yet again. They are exactly the same size. It's an optical illusion that makes you see them differently. Here's a wrapped present. Is it a present in the corner or a present missing a corner? Again, it can be both. Try to see it. There's the third way. 2 presents, one big and one small, next to each other. Now, how about you try to guess emoji-coded holiday movies? I'll give you a combination of emojis, and all you have to do is guess which movie it represents. Let's go. Here's the first one. A green monster with a dog. That's for sure the one and only Grinch. So the movie is The Grinch. Okay, good job. Here's the next one. Another holiday classic. Yes, it's our favorite, Home Alone. This one's a bit harder, but I think you can crack it. Yes, it's the Nutcracker. It's getting progressively more difficult. Can you figure out what this one is? It's the Polar Express, of course. Have you seen it? How about this one? Does it ring a bell? It's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And here's the last one. Do you recognize it? Well, that's pretty straightforward. A holiday elf can only represent another holiday classic, Elf. Okay, now let's play Santa. There are a few teenagers who don't believe in Santa anymore, so they didn't bother writing any letters with their wishes to him. Yet, Santa really wants to bring them gifts. He sends a few of his elves to observe the teenagers and decide which present would make each of them happy. Can you help them figure it out? Okay, here's the first room where Poppy lives. Which gift would be the best for her? It seems she likes beauty contests and makeup, so a makeup kit will be a good fit for her, don't you think? This is Arwen's room. What is the best possible gift for her? Judging from all the posters on her wall, she likes skateboarding. And what is right here in the corner of her room? A broken skateboard. She'd probably love to get a brand new skateboard, so that's for her. The next one on the elves list is James. Here's his room. Is there anything that will help you decide the best gift? He seems to be playing for the school's basketball team. So how about a basketball? Could be nice. The next person is Leah. Here's her room. What do you think Santa should get her? Look around. There's a book by her bed and hundreds of them on the shelves. I bet that Leah is a bookworm, so giving her a bunch of books would be a good idea. The problem is to decide which ones she hasn't read yet. And here's the last person to visit today, Neil. What do you think is a good gift for him? Well, Neil is obviously an artist, so some art supplies would be a go-to for him, right? Okay, great job! How about a few riddles? You can find us both in Harry Potter and in the Lord of the Rings books. Without us, there would be no presents during holidays. Who are we? Elves, of course. 24 doors, each day a surprise. In December's countdown, joy underlies. So what is it? It's an advent calendar. I have two colors. I'm minty yet sweet. So what is it? It's a candy cane. Sugar and spice in walls so sweet. What am I? An edible treat? A gingerbread house. I fall in the winter but never get hurt. What am I? It's snow, of course. And here's the last one of these. You can hold me and even shake me, but I'm easy to break. I have lots of snow, but it's all fake. What am I? And that's a snow globe. It was the winter holiday season, and Esme went for a walk in the forest. Of course, she got lost. Gladly, she found a witch's house, walked in, petted a cat, and asked the witch to take her home. But the witch wouldn't do it for nothing.
I will let you go if you solve a riddle. Look, I've got 4 frogs. Here are the names of the 3 of them: Carol, Eve, and Christina. What is the name of the 4th one? Alice, Jane, or Holly?
Can you help Esme? It seems like all names of the witch's frogs follow the theme of winter holidays. So, I would assume that the name of the 4th one is Holly. This one night a year, Santa Claus leaves his workshop at the North Pole and travels the world to deliver presents. Which direction does he travel first? Santa lives at the North Pole, so whenever he goes, the only way to travel from there is south. It's that one morning of the year, and Emma rushes down to see her presents. But there's also a letter from Santa, and here's what it says.
Dear Emma, you have been relatively good this year, but I can't look past a few not-so-good things you've done. I know you will do better next year. This year, I left you a gift, but you will need to find it. If you open the wrong one, everything will disappear. So be careful. Your gift is wrapped in white paper, doesn't have a red ribbon, and isn't small. Happy holidays, Santa.
Can you help Emma find her present? It's this one right here. White, gold ribbon, and big. Noelle is obsessed with holidays, and every year she wants to do as many Christmas activities as possible. Can you find all holiday-related objects in her house? Let's start with the bedroom. You need to find a gingerbread house, a candy cane, a Grinch costume, some wrapping paper, and paper snowflakes. Here they all are. Have you found them all? Now let's move to the living room. It's messy too, so you need to keep your eyes wide open. Can you find a stocking, a Christmas tree, Christmas lights, a nutcracker, and a poinsettia? There they are. How many have you found? When Mrs. Miller came home from work, she noticed that the presents she had prepared for her daughters were arranged differently. Someone must have sneaked in to look at them. Now she was determined to find out who it was. So she asked her daughters if anyone had been to her room that day. Diana said,
I didn't go there. I was decorating the tree.
Mia said,
And I was busy decorating the house.
Jessica said, I didn't go there either. I was building a snowman outside. Which one of them lied? It was definitely Jessica. There is no snowman outside, and there aren't even any footprints in the backyard, so no one has been there in a while. A similar situation happened with Mrs. Miller's friend, Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones had 3 sons, and she noticed that someone had sneaked in to look at the presents while she had been shopping. Here's what her son said. Jake said, I was busy wrapping presents I got for everyone. Here they are. Noah showed the cookies he made.
I was baking these cookies the whole time and never left the kitchen.
David said, I was outside shoveling the driveway. Which one of them sneaked in? The presents are indeed wrapped, the cookies are made, and the driveway is really clean. But look, the cookies are burned. If Noah had really been watching them, it wouldn't have happened. He probably sneaked out to look at the presents, and that's why the cookies burned a little. Are you ready for a new logical thinking and attention challenge? Then get your magnifying glass and let's go! Your first task is to help Santa. Which chimney is safe for him to use? The first one seems to be completely blocked, so no oxygen probably flows through it. Might be dangerous. Look at the second chimney. There's no snow on it, which means that the fireplace is working at the moment. Santa should choose the third chimney. It's not fully blocked, but there's some snow on it. So there's no fire in the fireplace at the moment. A man on a motorbike crashed into the window of Mr. Ruby's store, grabbed a dozen of expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them that he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday! Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe his story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the changing room. The police had 3 suspects, and all of them were from the coach's team. Brandon said that after the training, he'd stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hadn't been to the changing room yet. Andrew swore that after the training, he had gone outside to meet his girlfriend. And James claimed that when he'd been leaving the changing room, the trainer had been there. Who is behind the disappearance? It's Brandon. He said he hadn't been to the changing room yet, but he's wearing not his uniform, but his street clothes. On a summer night, Emily threw a big party, but in the morning, she discovered that someone had stolen all her jewelry and money. The police have 3 suspects: Daniel, Emily's boyfriend, Lily, her best friend, and Hannah, the girl's sister. Daniel told the police that he'd been playing computer games with his friends all night long. Lily felt sick and went home in the middle of the night. And Hannah said that she'd stayed at the party until 7 a.m. and then taken a taxi. It was too dark to walk home on her own, and nobody could give her a lift. Do you know who's lying? It's Hannah. At 7 a.m. in the summer, it's already light outside. A wealthy businessman disappeared right from his house. The detective who arrived to investigate the case found nothing unusual, except for a mysterious note with 377I3 written on it. There are 3 suspects: Eric, Ellie, and Colin. Help the detective to identify the criminal. The kidnapper is Ellie. Her name is the one coded in the note. One day, Santa got hungry, so he decided to make a stop at the supermarket to get some food. He didn't want to leave his gifts unattended, but he also couldn't bring them inside, so he left his bags near the entrance. Unfortunately, after he paid for his purchases, he discovered someone had taken the gifts. Can you help Santa find the thief? It's the third guy. He's trying to hide the gifts he's stolen. One kingdom was burned to ashes by a magic fire that was impossible to extinguish. The only person who survived was the prince of the kingdom. He decided to travel to the land of witches to figure out who had destroyed his country. There he met 3 witches, gray, brown, and purple. "My kingdom was destroyed by witchcraft. Who did it?" The Grey Witch answered that at the moment of the attack, she was on vacation in Africa. The Brown Witch told the prince that she had just returned from India. And the Purple Witch claimed that she could predict the future and heal people, but she had no power to control fire. Can you figure out which witch is guilty? It's the Purple Witch. How did she know about the fire if the prince never mentioned it? Mark was wandering through the forest, trying to find a bus station. Suddenly, he met a man who told him that he'd soon see a crossroads. There would be a post with several signboards. The right one will lie, the left one will tell the truth. And indeed, a bit later, Mark saw this post. The right sign said, "To the bus station," and the left one read, "To the forest." Can you figure out where the station is? So the right sign apparently lies, and the left sign will lead Mark back to the forest. He should go straight, and then he'll get to the station. A married couple came back home and found Santa lying unconscious on the floor. They called the police. When police officers arrived, they started interrogating the suspects. Those were the couple's kids. Their 17-year-old daughter claimed she had been on the phone with her boyfriend while her parents had been away. Their twin sons said that they'd gone to bed early to wake up early and unpack their presents. And their youngest daughter answered that she'd wanted to surprise Santa, so she'd been baking cookies for him. Look at all the suspects attentively and say who is guilty. It must be the youngest girl. Look, the cookies have been made with peanuts. Santa must be allergic to these nuts. You go to the supermarket and buy an egg and a chicken. The total cost of your purchase is 108 coins. But the chicken is 100 coins more expensive than the egg. So, how much does the egg cost? My first instinct was to say 8 coins, but 100 minus 8 doesn't give us the 100 coin difference. The egg actually costs 4 coins. Sophia disappeared right from her house, and from a note found in the living room, the police got to know that she had been kidnapped. Detective Peterson, who came to investigate the case, decided to question the woman's neighbors. Anthony told the police that he had worked the night shift. When he came home, he went straight to bed and was only woken up by the detective. Ryan explained that he had planned to organize a barbecue party for all the neighbors, but since it had been raining the whole day, he had to cancel it. Lauren said that she'd been downtown doing some shopping and had just come home. The detective immediately realized who the liar was. Have you figured it out too? Lauren lied. It had been raining all day long, but there are no puddles under her car. It means she hasn't been anywhere. Emma got caught by a witch. The witch locked her in her hut and left. Emma was starving. She found 3 kinds of cookies. Help her figure out which cookies are safe to eat. Look at these sweets. Even though these black dots look like raisins, they're actually little bugs. These white chocolate cookies look delicious, but what are those green stains? Oh no, they must be poisoned. Emma should opt for the cookies with chocolate chips. How do you know that Santa is really good at karate? Because he has a black belt, of course. Are you attentive enough to find the odd Santa? Right you are. It's the one without a belt buckle. The next task is to find the odd deer. This little guy with a red nose. Now, put your detective hat on. You're going to catch a thief. Look at this room attentively and say where the criminal is hiding. Aha! Look at the tree. Do you see a leg? Someone is hiding there.
Bob went scuba diving for his birthday. He got to see the rich marine life of Florida's ocean. But when he was down there, he hit his head on a coral reef. Now, it turned out that Bob was fine, except for the fact that he had lost a bit of his short-term memory. When he arrived home, there were 3 beautiful women waiting for him. Hey, it was his birthday. They all claimed that they were his wife. Well, take a look at the image. Can you help Bob figure out who is really his wife? It's the second woman on the right. If you look closely, you'll see she's wearing the same gold ring that Bob's wearing. Henry is the CEO of his own company. Have a look at the picture. One of these ladies is Henry's sister. Can you figure out who? Although he's looking at the woman on the right, his sister is on the left. They both have the same birthmark on their necks. Good eye, if you caught that. There was a recent break-in at Mr. Frank's grocery store. Luckily, the security cameras captured everything. Mr. Frank called in Detective Harper to crack the case. Harper noticed one small but very important detail that solved the mystery. Take a peek at the images Detective Harper reviewed. Can you figure out who the thief is? Let's see. That guy is just carrying around a baguette. The one near the fridge has normal groceries in her cart. And the last guy is holding a lettuce in his hands. But hey, take a look at the lettuce. It has such a weird shape. In fact, it has a banana inside of it. That guy was trying to sneak out with a banana and a lettuce. He's the thief, definitely. And a weird one. It's finals week at Crestwood Academy, and the tension is sky high. Check out the classroom and see if you can figure out who is cheating. It's the student with the smartwatch. He's looking at his watch to get the answers to the exam. Mrs. Bells has 3 sons. She is the best cook in the family, and she loves to make her family amazing dinners. Her sons love her, but say she keeps giving the best food to her favorite son. Examine the image carefully. Can you figure out who is her favorite son? It's the one in the middle. While all the other boys have a food plate in front of them, the little guy in the middle is already eating dessert. She gave him the best first. Bibi, Jenna, Miriam, and Jackie were called to the CEO's office for a meeting. It started to rain just before the meeting, and one of the ladies got in at the last minute. Their shoes got wet, and they stained the boss's carpet. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who stained his carpet? It was Miriam, the third lady in the middle. She is the one wearing high-heeled shoes, and if you look closely, that's the shape that matches the footprints. It was Paula's wedding, and everyone was beyond excited. One of the bridesmaids just caught the bouquet and was happily talking to the other ladies about it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which one of them caught it? It's the lady on the left. If you notice, she's surrounded by bees, who were attracted by the flower's pollen. It was Ricky's birthday, and he invited his best friends to go camping with him. The weather was perfect, so they decided to get a group picture next to the lake. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out which of these two people are a couple? If you look closely, the first girl on the left and the boy in the middle have matching tattoos. They have a cute little heart tattooed in different parts of their bodies. They're definitely a couple. Sarah is getting married, and she invited her bridesmaids for a dress fitting. One of the bridesmaids is pregnant, though. Can you figure out who? Oh, it's the lady eating the pie, of course. She's definitely having one of those irresistible cravings. Sandy and Priscilla met for afternoon tea, and one of the ladies took Jake, her younger son, along. Can you figure out who Jake's biological mother is just by looking at the picture? It's Sandy, the woman on the left. She's got the same hair color as Jake. Jenny's living large, and Lana's just scraping by. Take a look at the snapshot of both of them in their apartments. Can you tell who's who? Lana's on the left. Even though her place looks pretty stylish, all the decor still has the price tags on it. She's probably planning to return everything after snapping that picture. Alex and Jordan finally decided to get married after dating for 5 years. On their wedding day, just before the ceremony was about to start, Jordan asked Alex to grab a bracelet from her dressing room, the one he gave her on their first anniversary. But when Alex walked in, something super weird happened. 3 Jordans were standing before him, all looking exactly the same. Since Jordan's uncle was a bit of a mad scientist, Alex immediately suspected he'd cloned her. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out which one is the real Jordan? It's the third one. She's got the same bracelet that Alex always wears. Looks like Jordan's uncle forgot to clone that small detail. Alfie told Jen he'd been assigned to a top-secret mission in a remote desert. Just couldn't keep it secret, I guess. Super excited about the opportunity, they decided to try out a long-distance relationship. Jen asked him to send lots of photos, and he did. But after seeing the pics, Jen realized something was off and called it quits. How did Jen figure out Alfie was cheating? One of the last pics that Alfie sent had palm trees in the background. But there aren't any palm trees in the desert. Plus, the photos of the animals, there were kangaroos and koalas, which definitely don't live in the desert. Looks like Alfie faked the pics and wasn't where he said he was. Oh, and in one of the photos, there's a lipstick smudge on his shirt. Uh-oh. Ed's mom was responsible for overseeing the catering of his wedding. She went inside the kitchen to check if everything was okay, but came outside screaming. Can you guess what made her so mad? Look at the top of the cake. There are 2 statues of creepy-looking elves instead of the bride and groom. She wanted them to fix that immediately. Your cousin invites you to an amusement park called Funland's Frenzy. When you arrive, the ticket seller says there's a rule you must figure out before you can enter. They give you a few clues. At Funland's Frenzy, there are roller coasters, but no bumper cars. There is cotton candy, but no popcorn. There is pizza with cheese, but not pizza with sausage. Can you figure out the rules of Funland's Frenzy just with this info? The rule is that only things with double consonants are allowed. So, cotton candy, roller coasters, and pizza are in, and the rest are out. This Christmas, Jake decided to play a game with his sons. He would only give them their Christmas presents if they could win at his game. He would ask them a series of questions, and they would get as many gifts as they answered the riddles correctly. Jake asked his first son, Gabriel, "What do snowmen call their offspring?" Do you have any idea how to answer this riddle? They call them children. Duh. Then Jake asked his only daughter, Julia, another question. "Knock, knock," he said. "Who's there?" she answered. "Tree," Jake said. "Tree who?" Can you guess the answer to this riddle? It's the Three Wise Men. This one was definitely hard. His kids were doing so good that he decided to switch it up a little. He asked his son Aaron, "What do you call a disrespectful reindeer?" What's the answer here, huh? Well, let's see. A disrespectful reindeer is a Rudolph. For his last question, he asked all of his offspring together, "Where do Santa and the elves go to swim?" What do you think they answered? The North Pole, of course. On one of his trips, Santa brought with him some delicious walnut cookies. He kept them in a jar, waiting for the perfect moment to eat them. But one day, he got home from a day of work and found that his cookies were gone. He decided to interview his elves to find out who might have eaten his cookies. The first elf told Santa that he was making peppermint swirls with Mrs. Claus all morning. The second elf said he had spent the afternoon making homemade peanut butter for Christmas Day. And the last elf said he spent the day keeping an eye on the reindeer so they wouldn't fly away. Santa immediately knew who had eaten his cookies. How did he know? Take a look at the second elf's tongue. It's completely swollen. Elves are allergic to all types of peanuts, swollen from eating the cookies. Plus, his alibi is fake. If he had spent the day making peanut butter, he would have gone to the elf hospital for sure. At Somerville Middle School, the teachers decided to play a prank on their students to make the holiday season more cheerful. The principal announced on the speaker that there was a robber on the loose. The robber was dressing up as Santa and robbing laptops inside the school property. Students were told to beware. At the end of the school day, 5 students had photographed different people dressed up as Santa around the school. Take a look at the photographs. Can you figure out who the fake thief is? The thief is the second Santa on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. In 3 different parts of the world, 3 Santa Clauses are getting ready for their big night. They're about to leave the comfort of their homes to go and distribute gifts all around the world. Take a good look at the image below. Which Santa isn't ready to leave? He's the one in the middle. He still doesn't have his belt on. He can't leave without his belt. And speaking of spotting the real Santa, take a look at these 2 chimneys. Can you tell who is the real Santa? Take a look. The guy on the left has huge legs, and there's some green fur poking out of his pants. It must be the Grinch. The real Santa is the guy on the right, that's for sure. Daniela is a new detective in town, and there's an urgent case for her to solve. At night, someone robbed a mall and stole all the presents prepared for the winter show. In the morning, the videos from the security cameras were analyzed, and the police found 3 main suspects. All of them were interrogated. Bernard said, "I have nothing to do with it. I came from work yesterday and was watching football until I fell asleep." Samuel said, "Today, in the evening, I was so tired, so I just went to sleep and you woke me up." And Jason said, "I was studying all night for my exam in the afternoon." Who should Daniela arrest? Both Samuel and Jason look very tired, but only Jason has a valid reason for not sleeping. But Samuel called the previous day today by mistake, which means he probably didn't sleep at night and there was no difference for him between the 2 days. It was definitely him. Santa arrived in LA to give out gifts for children in the region. He parked his sleigh on top of a family's home and traveled down their chimney. He left their gifts under the tree and decided to check if the family left some cookies for him to snack on. He found the dinner table set with delicious meals: candy canes, hot chocolate, gingerbread, and a turkey. Can you tell which food doesn't belong at a Christmas table? The turkey. They're usually eaten during Thanksgiving, not Christmas. Well, in some homes. On January 1st, Devin called the police to report a crime. He says he went to his neighbor's New Year's Eve party the night before, and during that time, someone must have broken into his house and stolen his laptop. When the police asked about the party, Devin said it was great. There was good food, and the tree lights in his house were shining brightly and beautifully. Devin added that he thought that his neighbor could have been the one that stole his things. Maybe he snuck inside the house when Devin was at his place having fun. The police officer went next door to interrogate Devin's neighbor, Tom. However, as soon as Tom opened the door, the officer knew he wasn't guilty of the crime and also that Devin was lying. How? Look at Tom's Christmas tree. There are no lights. meaning it was probably not even working on the night before. Devin was lying. He probably just wanted to get some insurance money. 4 Santa Clauses were flying aboard a commercial flight. But just before the aircraft was about to take off, the airline got an anonymous call saying that someone was trying to smuggle illegal goods into the aircraft. So they had to check everyone's bags. Each bag went through the X-ray machine again. The first Santa was carrying an extra pair of wigs, shoes, and costume. The second Santa was carrying shaving cream, a book, and several naughty or nice lists. The third Santa had a stash of money, a laptop, and another wig. And the fourth Santa was carrying a few gifts and some gingerbread. Can you guess which Santa is a criminal? It's the one carrying the shaving cream. Santa never shaves his beard, so he must be hiding something inside it. Jenny ran into her comedian friend on the street during the holiday season, and he was on fire, asking her to answer all of his riddles. The first thing he asked Jenny was, why is Santa really good at karate? Because he has a black belt. Way to go, Jenny. Then he asked her, if December 31st is the end of the year, then what is the end of Christmas? The letter S. Well, that sounded obvious. For his grand question, he asked Jenny, what do you call a person who is afraid of Santa? The answer? Claustrophobic. Christmas is just around the corner, but you received a letter saying you didn't make it to Santa's nice list. You were naughty all year long and are not getting any presents unless you prove you are filled with Christmas spirit. Now, what would you say is the best way to do that? Praying, dancing in the middle of the street, or singing Christmas carols? Well, it's definitely the last option. Carols are the best way to spread Christmas cheer. Merry Christmas!
Ava got into a serious accident during the weekend. She got a concussion and broke her leg. Still, the very next day, one of her friends saw her riding a bicycle in the park, and she looked fine. How is that possible? Look, the girl who got into the car accident has a tattoo on her ankle. The girl on the bike doesn't. The girl who was riding the bike was Ava's twin sister, Malva. A doctor rushed into the emergency room and saw there were 2 patients waiting for urgent treatment. The man on the left was a tech millionaire, and the lady on the right was a grandmother to 5 children. He needed to think fast who he would save. Who should he choose? He should choose the grandmother. The man on the left has a phone next to him. He could call someone else for help. 3 scientists went to research in the Amazon forest. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the wildlife for his social media page, and Helena got to study a rare species of carnivorous plant. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take something in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Well, it's illegal to take seeds and plants with you, and Helena had a carnivorous plant in her backpack. Yikes! Mia went to Rome for summer vacation. She was wandering through the streets when she saw an artist's easel was knocked over. He said he had stepped away for 1 second and the tragedy happened. Mia decided to help him solve the case and interviewed a few people. Marco said that he'd been taking photos nearby. Harry said he'd been juggling for a big crowd a few meters away. Josie said that she'd come by just to buy a painting from the artist. and Leo said he had been enjoying gelato at a cafe nearby. Can you help Mia figure this one out? Well, look at Harry's backpack. There are some art supplies sticking out of it. He must have created a distraction to steal it. Yikes! Barbara invited her colleague Sabrina for lunch at her place. Sabrina was surprised she thought Barbara didn't like her. But Barbara went all in for their lunch. She even cooked delicious tuna. She split the fish in half and each of the ladies ate their portion. A few hours after lunch, Sabrina ended up in the hospital with severe food poisoning. After a thorough investigation, the police popped over at Barbara's house and arrested her. But how is this possible? Take a look at the knife Barbara used to prepare the meal. It had a bit of poison on one side. Certainly the side that she gave Barbara to eat. Oh my. You meet a friend for coffee, and she says she will only spill the tea on her latest secret if you can guess her riddle. She says, 5 costs $25, 25 costs $50. If you buy 255, you pay $75. What is it that you're buying, and how much does one item cost? You're buying door numbers, and each number costs $25. It took a decade for Professor Evans' archaeological mission to find a priceless artifact. The professor stored it safely in a vault. The team celebrated the win with a bonfire and went to sleep. The next morning, the artifact was gone. Professor Evans decided to investigate the robbery herself. Jack said he spent the last 2 hours cataloging the pottery they had found earlier. Olivia claimed she spent the last few hours in the rest area getting some sleep. Mark mentioned he'd been repairing the digger all morning. Professor Evans immediately figured out who took the artifact. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. He claimed he spent the entire morning fixing the digger. But take a look at his hands. They should be dirty from the repairs. A car crashed into a restaurant window and drove straight inside. The owner was horrified and called the cops to investigate. There were 2 main suspects, Julia and Bernard. Each of them claims it was the other person who is the culprit. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who's lying? It's Julia. If you pay attention to the tire tracks, you'll see that they're the same pattern as Julia's tires. She's the one who did it. Take a look at this picture. Can you guess who is more reckless? Let's see. On the first pic, we see a little kid on the beach playing near the water. His super muscular dad is in the background talking to a couple of women. In the second pic, the little kid is playing catch with a not-so-friendly dog. But hey, his dad in the background is paying close attention. It's safe to say the dad on the first pic is more reckless. You are in Greece, exploring some of the country's ancient ruins. You get lost from your group and find the entrance to a hidden cave. You come across a mysterious chamber with 4 massive doors, each with a unique symbol. Beside it, there is an ancient scroll. When you open it, you find a message that tells you to trust that your mind knows the fleeting nature of time. The first door carries the symbol of a shield. The second door has a crown. The third door features a pair of wings, and the fourth door has an hourglass on it. Which door will lead you to the treasure? The fourth door, the one with the hourglass. The clue was in the last phrase, the fleeting nature of time. It's the hourglass. You walk into a diner and there are two very suspicious clients indoors. And one of them is actually a criminal. Who is it? Let's have a look. The first guy looks suspicious, especially since he's holding a defensive device. The second girl looks more innocent. She's just sitting holding a knife and cutting her salad with it. But hey, she's the guilty one. That huge knife is too big for cutting a salad, and it's got a red stain on it. Sarah was invited for a brunch with her new colleagues from work. She recently started working at a tech company. She arrived at the restaurant but didn't see any of her colleagues. Instead, she saw a weird-looking robot. How could she tell that it was really a robot? I know it looks like a person, but hey, look at her wrists. She has USB entrances on both of them. It must have been one of the pranks her colleagues decided to play on her. Maeve quit her job and decided to travel the world. Her first destination was Paris. She didn't know anything or anyone over there, so she arrived and looked for the first hostel she could find. But, oh no, she really shouldn't go inside this place. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out why? This hostel is haunted. There's the shadow of a ghost on the top window. I definitely wouldn't go in. One late summer evening, a thief broke into a renowned artist studio and stole a rare painting. He didn't manage to get too far though, because a security patrol passed by while he was escaping. The thief stashed the painting under a thick bush and hid behind a nearby wall. The artist was quick to notice they had been stolen and called Detective Summer for help. The detective soon gathered two suspects. Take a look at the picture. Which guy did it? If you crawl through a bush with bare arms, they will most likely get scratched. Take a look at that second guy's arms. They're covered in scratches. He must be the culprit. The holiday season is coming, but criminals are still busy with their evil deeds. Your help is needed. Get your magnifying glass and let's make Christmas merry again. A man was walking along the road heading for a resort town. At one point, he saw a weird scene. Santa was standing on the side of the road. His sleigh had apparently spun out and ended up in a ditch. The man approached Santa to find out what exactly had happened. It turned out Santa had gone out to test his brand new reindeer-free electric sleigh. But suddenly, the Grinch on skis appeared right in front of the sleigh. So Santa had to make a sharp turn. And that's how his sleigh ended up in a ditch. Surprisingly, the man didn't believe Santa. Why? Look closely at the trail left by the sleigh. You can see that first the sleigh turned sharply, and only after that did a skier pass there. The Grinch is not guilty in this case. Most likely, Santa just lost control and now wants to frame the green guy. Santa needs to deliver some gifts, but not all chimneys are safe for him. Can you help Santa figure out which chimney he should pick? The first chimney seems to be fully blocked and no air flows through it. All snow and ice have melted on the second chimney. The fireplace must be working there. As for the third chimney, it's open enough for oxygen to flow through, but the snow hasn't melted completely, which means the fireplace is off. The Grinch wants to change himself to be part of the celebrations instead of hating Christmas. The only problem is that his body isn't cut out for Christmas cheer. He's come to Santa to ask for help. Which part of the Grinch's body needs to be modified the most to fix his anti-Christmas sentiment? His chest is where the problem lies, so we'd better swap that heart out for a bigger one, bursting with Christmas joy. Rudolph the reindeer went missing, and this put the whole Christmas at risk since children wouldn't receive any presents. Santa only knew that Rudolph had gone to the supermarket to get the products for Christmas pudding. The news quickly spread on TV, and 3 witnesses appeared. Judy said that the night before, she'd been passing by an ice cream stand on Palm Street and had seen someone grabbing a reindeer and putting it in a truck. But at that time, she didn't think it could be Rudolph. Philip claimed that he had seen a baby reindeer in a parking lot near a supermarket. The animal was eating hay together with a pony. A man in a jacket approached the animals and they all left. And Kira said that at night, she had seen a reindeer being grabbed by a man and taken away in a black car. Can you figure out who actually witnessed Rudolph's abduction? It was Kira. Rudolph didn't go out to get an ice cream, neither was he a baby reindeer. So what Kira saw seems to be the closest to the truth. Look at this battle. What do you think? Who isn't going to survive it? Everyone will survive. It's just arm wrestling. Almost all the presents have been stolen from Santa's factory. It all happened in the last couple of hours. The weather was nasty. There was snow on the ground and a light rain was falling. The suspects have been narrowed to 3 elves. Each of them claims to have been at home the entire time. As the roads are too dangerous to navigate on foot, the elves can only get around on their sleighs. Can you guess who has taken the presents? It was elf number 2. The first sleigh is damaged, and there's a lot of snow on the third one. It's unlikely someone's been using it recently. As for the second elf sleigh, there is some ice under it, which means that he's recently left the house. While he was away, the rain fell on the snowless ground where the sleigh had previously been parked. And now, this spot is frozen into ice. Let's move to the North Pole. Someone has been stealing Santa's cookies, which he keeps in the reindeer stables. Santa suspects that the criminal is one of his elves who work there, but he's also worried because all of them are allergic to chocolate, and the disappearing cookies are chocolate chip ones. Detective Robinson gathers all the elves in one room. One of them keeps sticking out his tongue and then blushing and apologizing. The second elf has traces of something brown on his hands, and the third elf keeps smiling and giggling. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which one is the thief. The guy with brownish spots on his fingers works in the stables, so no wonder his hands are dirty. Elves are cheerful creatures, which means that a smiling and giggling elf is not actually an unusual occurrence. But the first elf, his tongue is likely swollen as a result of an allergic reaction. Here's our cookie thief. I'm a cookie you might eat, and some might say I'm a flavored Christmas treat. I have brown arms and eyes, and don't forget my feet. What am I? I'm a gingerbread man. After accidentally falling out of his sleigh, Santa had problems with his leg. It hurt to walk, so he went to see the doctor. What did the specialist give Santa to help him walk? A candy cane, of course! 3 teenagers sneak into Santa's home. When he comes home after work, he sees 3 guilty-looking kids and his tall plastic Christmas tree lying on the floor. Santa knows that one of the kids must have climbed the tree, which made it fall over. He calls the police. After looking at the kids attentively, a police officer tells Santa who is guilty. Can you figure it out too? This guy with green hair looks as if he has some Christmas tree needles in his hair. But don't forget that the tree is plastic and can't lose any needles. The guy on the left has a star on his sweater that looks like the one at the top of the tree. But look, it's embroidered. Now look at this girl with a pretty sparkly scarf. It looks suspiciously similar to tinsel decorating the Christmas tree. That's because it is tinsel. Busted! Where can you find Santa's reindeer? It depends on where you left them. Santa called Detective Chris Mallet and asked him to go to a haunted gingerbread house and face one of 3 horrifying monsters. They had taken up residence in Santa's tasty but currently unapproachable cabin. Chris's potential opponents are a giant reanimated Christmas turkey. It's threatening the detective with knives and looks extremely unfriendly. A scorching hot eggnog monster that looks like a moving pile of slime. Or a menacing-looking huge candy cane creature with long, sharp limbs. Help the detective make the right choice. The turkey can be very dangerous with those knives. The candy cane's monster's limbs are too sharp to come close to it. As for eggnog, besides being very hot, it doesn't pose any serious danger. The detective just needs to push the monster towards a gingerbread wall, and it'll absorb the creature very fast. On Christmas Eve, Santa leaves his workshop located at the North Pole to deliver gifts to good children. In what direction does he travel? In the south direction. It's the only direction you can travel from the North Pole. I could keep a giant's foot warm, and people look forward to finding me near the fireplace. What am I? I'm a Christmas stocking. What does the gingerbread man put on his bed instead of a blanket? He uses a cookie sheet. He is a man during the winter, but you might drink him during the summer. Who is he? A snowman. And finally, let's have some fun. Who says, "Oh, oh, oh"? Santa walking backwards. When you were 10 years old, your parents finally revealed the harsh truth to you. Santa is not real. But you refused to accept that and promised yourself that you would find Santa and prove to everyone that he was real when you grew up. But many years passed, and you forgot about your promise. One night, right before you fall asleep, you start hearing a jingling sound. You open your eyes and see a snow fairy. She says,
Answer my riddle and receive your letter. What comes with a winter's chill, adorned with lights that give a thrill, has branches dressed in snowy frills, and stands in homes on windowsills?
The answer is a Christmas tree. The snow fairy hands you a red letter and flies away as fast as she can without telling you who it's from. You open it and read, "Dear believer, I know you're wondering who I am. The answer lies in this riddle. I journey forth when stars are bright, in a cloak of night, not a sound in sight. Bringing joy from lands afar, on my sleigh I soar, neath the polar star." Can you figure out who wrote the letter? It's Santa Claus! At that moment, you hear a jingling sound coming from the living room downstairs. You rush there to catch sight of what's causing it and spot an elf waiting for you by the tree with 3 different gift boxes in front of it. It tells you to pick one of them. Which one should you choose? Take a look at the tag attached to the first gift box's ribbon. It says, "Delivered to Thomas Kirtland, age 9. So that belongs to someone else. And notice how the wrapping of the third gift box is damaged from the corners? That could only mean it's already opened, so you should pick the second one. You open your gift box and find a map that shows where Santa lives on the North Pole. You ask the elf, "But how am I supposed to get there?" The elf says, "The answer to your question lies within this riddle. Leading the pack with a light so rare, my shiny beacon cuts through the air. In fog or blizzard, I steer clear. Name me, I'm the sleigh's bright pioneer." Can you tell what that is? The answer is none other than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph flies you to Santa's house on the North Pole, but as soon as you land, you realize that you made one huge mistake that might put you and this whole mission into danger. What is that? You didn't get a coat, a beanie, or a scarf to keep yourself warm. Fortunately, you spot Santa Claus's house right in front of you and run there to get warm. But something you see makes you suspicious. What is that? The door to Santa's house is open even though there's a snow blizzard outside. That doesn't seem normal at all. You hesitantly enter the house and start hearing screaming coming from the end of the hallway. You rush there to check what's going on and find out that there's a door. Unfortunately, it's locked with a 3-digit password padlock. Behind the door is Mrs. Claus asking for your help to free her. Luckily, there are clues around the place about the password. Can you spot them and unlock the door? The first clue is here. A traditional advent calendar is hanging on the wall with only one window open, showing the number 3. This is the first digit. The second clue is right here. A string of jingle bells hangs above the fireplace. There are 6 bells in total. So that's the second digit. And the last clue is here on the shelf. Take a look at this snow globe. Inside it, there's a tiny statue of number 4. And that's the last digit. Once you free Mrs. Claus, she explains to you that the original Santa has been tied up for many days now in the North Pole prison, while the evil Krampus pretended to be him. She hands you a magic key and asks for your help to save him and the holiday. So you set off to this prison, with the right clothes this time. You spot the scary building ahead, and there are 3 different ways that will lead you there. Which one should you choose? A. The icy tunnel. B. The frozen forest. Or C. The snowy bridge.
Uh-oh.
The tunnel is filled with sharp icicles that can collapse at any time. That's dangerous. As for the forest, do you hear the distant growls of wild animals coming from there? Better not risk encountering them. You should pick the bridge because notice the footprints on the snow across it? That indicates someone just used it recently, suggesting that it's good to go. There are 3 prison cells inside the building, and inside each of them, there is one Santa look-alike. 2 of those people are imposters, and one of them is the original Santa. However, you have only one chance because the magic key Mrs. Claus gave you before will break after a single use.
Uh-oh.
You must free the real Santa and save the holiday once and for all. Which door do you open? The Santa behind the second door wears a pair of round spectacles. While he fits the image of Santa, his spectacles don't have any lenses in them, which suggests they're more for show than for use. As for Santa behind the third door, do you notice how his beard slightly shifts when he moves? So, it's just a well-made fake. So you should free the Santa behind the first door. Congrats! You just saved Christmas. And hey, Santa is real indeed. Johnny and his family arranged a photo shoot to prepare this year's Happy Holiday card. The photographer took 3 photos of them. But when they checked them, there was something weird in all of the photos. Take a look at the first photo they took in the living room. Can you tell me what's weird here? You can see from the window that it's not snowing outside. But check the mirror on the wall here. You can see snow on the reflection of the window. Now, look at the photo they took in the backyard of the house. What's strange here? Take a look at the chimney on the roof. Something's stuck there. It's Santa's gift bag. Here's the final photo they took in the dining room. What's odd here? Take a look at the long velvet curtains here. Someone's hiding behind them, but they didn't do a good job. You can see their feet sticking out. Let's just hope it's Santa. Janine's boss was leaving the town for the winter holiday, and she wanted Janine to take care of her mansion while she was gone. Before leaving, she mentioned a security code, which once entered into the system would activate an electrified gate to keep out intruders. During a snowstorm, Janine noticed burglars approaching the mansion, but realized she had forgotten the code.
Oh no!
Luckily, her boss also left her a clue which read, "When trees are bare and skies are gray, nights lengthen to outlast the day. In this time, the cold winds whisper. What brings this frosty, chilling picture?" The answer is the season of winter, so Janine needs to enter the word winter on the digital control pad. Nellie, Peter, and Orly rented a country house to celebrate the holiday season together. Unfortunately, the owner of the place forgot the presents he got for his family inside. But when he came back to get them, there were no presents. Assuming they got stolen, he called the police. Once she arrived, she asked all 3 friends what they were doing when the robbery took place. Nellie said she was watching the TV in the bedroom. It was so loud that she didn't hear anything. Orly said she was decorating the Christmas tree with the ball ornaments in her hand. And Peter said he was building a snowman outside and didn't know what was going on in the house. Can you tell who's lying? Orly is lying. There are no balls on the tree. I have a math workout for you today, but first, let's have a little warm-up. How many ducks do you see in this picture? Don't forget about the hidden ones. There are 15 ducks. Did you find them all? Okay, now count all the flowers. Right, there are 17 of them. Can you spot 3 differences between these photos? Here they are. And another one. There are 3 differences again. Do you see them? Okay, here they are. Good job. Okay, now a bit of math for you. Look at this picture. The only number multiplied by itself that gives 25 is 5, so this shape equals 5. This way, the other shape from the second equation is 4. 4 and 6 make 10, so the red circle equals 6. Then, 5 multiplied by 6 gives us 30. This one is similar, but a bit harder, so be very attentive. Okay, 3 pairs of sneakers make 30. Then 1 pair equals 10. Then 1 cat with a whistle must be 5. In this case, 2 whistles equal 4, so 1 whistle is 2. Now the last one. A pair of sneakers is 10. We know that a cat with a whistle is 5, but this kitty doesn't have a whistle. But since a whistle is 2, the cat without a whistle must be 3. And a whistle equals 2. So, it's 10 plus 3 multiplied by 2, which is 16. Ava and Dakota are sisters. When Dakota was 18, Ava was half her age. Now that Dakota is 26, how old is Ava? When Dakota was 18, Ava was 9, so the age difference between the sisters is 9 years. If Dakota is 26 now, then Ava is 17. When Polaris was 16 years old, her mother was 39. If Polaris's mom is twice her daughter's age, how old is Polaris? The age difference between Polaris and her mother is 23 years. That means now, Polaris is 23 and her mom is 46. Yvonne had a big collection of CDs. One day, she decided to clean up her house and counted that she had 172 CDs. She sold them all except for 7 CDs of her favorite singer and 5 CDs of her favorite band. How many CDs does Yvonne have now? Well, if she gave up all but 7 plus 5, it leaves her with 12 CDs. In PE class, all students were standing in a circle. If the 5th student was exactly opposite the 12th student, how many students were in the circle? Between student number 5 and student number 12, there are 6 other students. If these two are opposite each other, then on the other side between them, there are also 6 students. This makes 14 students in the circle. Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says, 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has 1 other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10. The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10 greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6 and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. Mrs. Davies is an elderly lady telling a story of her life.
After I lived 1/4 of my life, I got my first car. I married 1/12 of my life later. 1/6 of my life later, I started a business. 1/4 of my life later, I got my first granddaughter. She just turned 18.
How old is Mrs. Davies? Let's say Mrs. Davies is X years old. 1/4 of her life, till she gets her first car, X is 4. Then we add 12 till her marriage. X till opening her business, 4 till the birth of her granddaughter, and finally 18 years from then till now. It should all be equal to X. If you solve this equation, you'll figure out that X is equal to 72. So, Mrs. Davies must be 72 years old. Esme was walking in the forest, and you know what? She didn't get lost this time. She knew how to get home, but the other road led to the witch's house, and the girl recently came up with a cool riddle for the witch. So, Esme decided to pay her a visit. She offered a deal. If the witch couldn't solve her riddle, Esme would get her cat. The witch agreed, and Esme gave her a square piece of paper, 4 inches by 4 inches, with a total area of 16 square inches. Turn it into a square with a total area of 8 square inches without a ruler. How can the witch do it? The witch should fold the 4 corners of the square towards the middle. This way, she'll get a square that is exactly twice as small as the original one. Apparently, the witch gets to keep her cat this time. There's a box filled with balls of different colors, 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Allison has a tricky task. Blindfolded, she has to keep picking up balls until she's sure that she has balls of at least 2 different colors. What's the minimum number of balls she should pull out of the box? In the worst-case scenario, Allison will be picking up balls of the same color until there are no more of them left in the box. The majority of balls are purple, so if she picks up a purple ball every single time, it'll be 11 balls. And only after that will she get a ball of a different color. So, she should pick up 12 balls. Like every morning, Daphne went to her favorite local cafe to get her coffee and breakfast sandwich. She left the cafe after she'd paid. A few minutes later, she returned, looking anxious, because she had forgotten her wallet. Strangely, it was nowhere to be found. She called the police to report the incident. Nobody had left the store, so the thief was still there when the officer arrived. He started questioning everyone. Jenny, the cashier, said that Daphne was a regular customer, and she had known her for a long time. So, she would never steal her wallet, and she didn't see it after Daphne had paid. Andre was a tourist visiting the city for the first time. He said he'd come to the cafe because he'd wanted to try their famous muffins. She claimed he hadn't seen the wallet. He was busy trying to pick what type of muffin he should get at the time. And Harry worked as a store clerk. He said that he'd come there to grab a coffee, and he didn't see the wallet because he was pouring milk into his coffee. So who do you think stole the wallet? It was Harry, the store clerk, or should I say Harold. Do you see his name tag? He lied about his name when he ordered his drink. Also, even though he said he was pouring milk in his coffee, as you can see, it doesn't have any milk in it. Jessica was an aspiring actor, and she had a big musical theater audition that day. She left her house early in the morning to make it on time, but she had forgotten to take her sheet music with her, so she had to drive back. When she walked in, though, she saw her roommate lying on the floor unconscious. A nurse was standing beside her. She explained to Jessica that her roommate had been poisoned, but luckily, she'd had enough time to call an ambulance before she passed out. Jessica immediately realized something was wrong. She thanked the nurse for helping her friend and asked her if she could get her a glass of water or anything else. The nurse agreed, and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. There, she called the police saying, "There's a fake nurse in my house. She poisoned my roommate and tried to rob her." How did Jessica understand that? When she arrived at the house, there was no ambulance car in the driveway or in the street, and it's not like paramedics started using Uber. And you might have also noticed that the paramedic bag the nurse was holding was slightly open, and Jessica's roommate's jewelry was dangling out of it. Anna and Catherine are both influencers, but take a look at the latest photos they posted. Which of these ladies do you think is richer? Catherine is richer, of course. Just look at the number of likes on her photo. She has 27,907 likes. Anna, on the other hand, has 9,837, which means that Catherine has way more followers and must be earning millions. Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online, so there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh, so it must be her who is lying. David spent his summer break at a science camp that was at a big space facility. When the summer break ended and school started, he told his friends from the science club all about his camp adventures. He said that at the facility, he had found a secret room. And in there was a time machine. He stepped into it and pressed some buttons to test if it really worked. And it did. He traveled through time and was able to talk to Nikola Tesla, Chuck Berry, and King Aragorn. But one of his friends immediately called him out for lying. How did he know that David made up this whole thing? Well, even if David actually managed to travel through time, he might have been able to talk to Nikola Tesla and Chuck Berry, but definitely not King Aragorn, because he is a fictional character.
Hey, hungry for some new riddles? Okay, here they are. Let's start with this uncomfortable situation that happened on an airplane. On a flight from Denver to San Diego, a flight attendant noticed a woman in an orange jumpsuit. "You're a prisoner!" she screamed, and she was about to report it. No, the passenger exclaimed. "It's just a costume. I'm heading to a cosplay convention." Who do you think is right? I'd believe the passenger. She's headed to San Diego, and there are many cosplay conventions there. But also, look, her jumpsuit looks new, as if it hasn't been worn. But more importantly, there is a ticket to the convention lying by her side. Tom is about to cross a railroad bridge when he spots a big truck right in front of the underpass. It's not moving. Tom stops and asks the driver what happened. The truck is 1 inch higher than the indicated height of the underpass, the driver says. "Unfortunately, this is the only road to my destination, and I am not sure what to do now. I must make the delivery on time, and the clock is ticking." What can the driver do to get through the underpass fast? The truck driver can let some air out of the tires just enough to make the truck an inch lower. Sam and James are best friends, and they both are on a school basketball team. They always make bets, and today's bet is the following. Listen, dude, I bet $10 that I can predict the score of the game before it starts, says James. Sam accepts. Soon enough, he passes James his $10. How come? The score before the game is always 0-0. That's what James said. Here's another bet, but you need to think outside the box to find the solution. Alex was at a carnival and went to a magician's booth. The man told Alex, "If I write your exact height on this piece of paper, you'll have to give me $5. If I make a mistake, I will pay you $10. Alex agreed and then lost his $5. How did the magician win the bet? Especially since he's just a fraud and has no magical powers whatsoever. The magician handed Alex the paper, and here's what was written on it: your exact height. Maybe it's a bit unfair, but very precise. A local police department got a call. Someone reported that a big robot was roaming the city, crashing everything around. After a bit of digging, the police traced the robot's creator, a scientist living on the outskirts of the city. Here's what the scientist said. "I created that robot, but I didn't mean any harm. Today it just went crazy and wouldn't listen to me. I've been trying to stop it, but nothing works." Luckily, the police managed to capture the robot. Now they have to figure out what to do with the scientist. Did he really try to stop the robot, or was this just his evil plan? What do you think?
I am a robot. I am a robot.
Look, the switch on the robot's body is in the off position, yet the robot still functions. It means the scientist indeed tried to turn it off and is probably telling the truth.
Robot.
Now, let's train your eyes a bit. We're in a city of superheroes, and almost every house here is owned by some well-known superhero. I'll show you different interiors, and you have to figure out who the house belongs to. Deal? Alright then, here's the first one. What's your guess? I bet you notice spiderwebs everywhere. Yes, it's Spider-Man's house. Here's the next one. What do you think? Does it ring a bell? Have you noticed those boots in the corner and a lasso? Yes, that's the residence of Wonder Woman. Let's move on to her neighbor's house. Who do you think it belongs to? Have you noticed this big hammer? Yeah, it's Thor's house. Okay, let's move on. Here's the interior of yet another house in the area. Can you guess who it belongs to? The scratches on the walls and couches hint at the one and only Wolverine. And here's the last one for today. Pay close attention and maybe you'll get it right. Well, the one living here is a patriot, with all those American flags all over the place. And there's a shield over there. Yes, of course, it's Captain America. Now, it's your turn to be a superhero. I'll show you two situations, and you'll have to decide who you need to save and who can manage on their own. You ready? Here's the first pair. Maya is running late and taking a shortcut on her way to school. Emily is driving to her aunt's house. Who should you save? Which one of them is in danger? definitely Maya. Look, the shortcut is actually a frozen lake. But can you see the cracks? Yep, she might drown. Hurry up and save her. Good job. Now, there's a new pair for you, but only one of them needs your help. Tommy is walking to a birthday party and is texting while walking. Jaden is together with his friends. He's answering his girlfriend. Who is in danger? Both guys might fall into the maintenance hole on the way, but at least Jaden is with his friends. They'll probably notice the danger and warn him. Tommy is alone, so he might need your help. Riley is on vacation. She's on the beach, getting tanned and enjoying the waves and the breeze. Chloe went on a camping trip to a local forest and stopped for some snacks. Who is in danger? It's Chloe. It's not safe to eat unknown berries. And these ones are definitely poisonous. Just look at the poor bird that obviously munched on those. You need to come and stop the girl. Okay, off to the next case. Liam is strolling through the city, and Wendy is jogging in a local park. Who is in danger? A large tree branch is falling from a big height, and Liam is wearing headphones, so he won't hear a thing. He's the one who needs your help. Okay, here's your last superhero case, so look carefully. Leah and Mary went for a walk in the woods and encountered a bear. Long story short, the bear is now chasing them. Which one of them really needs your help? It's Mary. The girl is wearing heels, not the best choice of footwear since they will definitely slow her down. Hey, thanks for your help. Now here's another riddle. Keep your eyes wide open and use your logic. Melanie isn't doing well in school, so she is grounded for all winter holidays. She's supposed to study the whole time. But luckily for her, her mother often works night shifts. So every now and then, she isn't at home. Of course, Melanie sneaks out to see her friends. She tries to be very careful so that her mother doesn't notice anything. But one early morning, her mom comes back home and realizes that Melanie sneaked out of the house at night. How did she figure it out? Look, Melanie's car is the only one in the neighborhood that's not covered in snow. It means she used it not so long ago. So I can see that you can connect the dots well. I have another task for you. You see, there are a few suitcases that got lost at an airport. I'll show you what's inside, and you'll have to guess the professions of those who the suitcases belong to. Deal? Okay, here's the first one. What's the profession of its owner? This one definitely belongs to a ballerina. Perfect! Here's the second one. What do you say? It must be a photographer's suitcase. Good job! Here's more, and it's harder. Any ideas? Well, I'd say it belongs to an architect. The fourth suitcase is coming your way. Take a look. Okay, what's your call? This one probably belongs to a police officer. Great! What about this one? Yes, it must be a hairdresser suitcase. And here's the last one for today. Any ideas? I'd say it belongs to a pilot. That's it for today. Thanks for playing with me. You did well. There are 3 students, Peter, Everett, and Leah. One of them isn't a real person. Can you tell who? It's Everett. He doesn't cast a shadow. Look at 3 friends, Ariel Vandenberg, Danica Hall, and Simone. The first girl has a long one, the second girl has a short one, and the third girl doesn't use hers. What is it? It's their last names. Juniper loves sleeping. She sleeps 10 hours every day. Still, there's 1 month when she sleeps in total a bit less than during the other months. What is this month, and why does this girl sleep less? It's February. There are just 28 or 29 days in this month, which means fewer nights. Andy and Carter went camping in the woods on the weekend. 1 week later, Andy came to the police. He said Carter had led him deep into the forest, and while Andy was sleeping, his friend left him there. Then Andy had to wander alone for a week until he found some road leading to civilization. He came to the police to report the accident immediately. Carter denied doing that, claiming that they had come back home together. Who's lying? Andy is too clean-shaven for a person who has just got out of the woods. I'll bet he made up his story. Esme was walking in the forest. Once it got dark, she headed home but got lost. She was wandering around the forest until she found the witch's house. She came in, said hi to the witch and her grandson, who was still staying with his granny, and petted the cat. The witch had another riddle for Esme to solve if she wanted to get out. She wrote down a number. There were 2 special things about it. What were they? First, this number contains all existing digits. Second, they're put in alphabetical order. Mrs. Cooper was going to the bank when she passed out. Cece was passing by when she noticed the woman on the ground. She called the ambulance and the police. Soon the woman came to her senses, but she found out that someone had stolen all her money. There were 3 suspects, Cece and 2 other pedestrians, Teo and Mason. Who is the thief? Look, there are 2 types of footsteps leading to the place where Mrs. Cooper is lying. One of them belongs to her, and the other was left by Cece. There are also 2 parallel straight lines, which must be the prints left by a wheelchair. So, the thief must be the man in the wheelchair, Mason. Mrs. Ford reported to the police that her neighbor, Anthony, had stolen her golden figurine. She said, "I was upstairs vacuum cleaning when I heard someone enter the house. I walked up to the window and saw my neighbor leaving the house a half-minute later. When I went downstairs, I saw that my golden figurine had been stolen." Anthony denied passing by Mrs. Ford's house that day. Who should the detective believe? He should believe Anthony. Vacuum cleaners are noisy, so Mrs. Ford couldn't possibly hear anyone enter her house. Cheryl was having a birthday party. She noticed that her brother was staying in his room with some girl, but she didn't know who it was. Cheryl got curious, so after they left, she sneaked into his room to look for some hints. There were 3 girls at the party, Jasmine, Willow, and Sylvia. Cheryl immediately guessed who her brother was dating. Can you figure it out? It's Sylvia. Look, there's a jacket in the room. Sylvia was wearing it at the party. Now I'll show you some pictures, and you'll need to understand what's wrong with them. Let's go. Here's the first one. The door hinges and the handle are on the same side of the door. Doors don't work this way. Here's another one. What's wrong here? The woman isn't wearing a necklace, but it's reflected in the mirror. And what about this one? Nine and 11 are messed up. It should be the other way around. This one should be easy, but keep your eyes wide open. Right, there's no red traffic light. Paris went on an expedition to a desert for a month. She didn't have a strong internet connection, so she couldn't talk to her boyfriend often. Still, one day, she managed to video call him. But that call didn't end well. The girl broke up with the guy. Why? Look at the background. It's nighttime for Paris's boyfriend, but he is obviously having dinner with some girl. There's a second plate and a glass with a lipstick print on it. Storm was walking with his friend in the park. Suddenly, it started raining, and they had to go home. Storm ran back as fast as he could because he didn't have a raincoat, an umbrella, or even a hood. Still, when he finally got home after running in the rain for 10 minutes, not a single hair on his head was wet. How is it possible? Storm was bald. In an alternate reality, Mrs. Savad was trying to persuade her daughter, Amy, to go to a party. Amy wanted to do her homework instead. Weird, huh? Mrs. Savad bought Amy an amazing dress, but the girl still refused. It continued until her mom promised that if Amy went to that party, she'd let her do her homework 16 hours a day every day for another month. Later, Mrs. Savad left for her own party. When she returned, she realized that Amy hadn't left the house. How did she know? There's still a price tag on the dress, which means that Amy didn't wear it. Violet had a genius but crazy sister who was always making traps in the basement. One day, Violet went downstairs to get her laundry. As soon as she walked in, the door got locked and wouldn't open. There were 3 buttons. Violet knew that one of them would open the door, but the other 2 would electrocute her. Luckily, her sister had mercy. There was a hint. Which of the buttons will let Violet get out of the basement? If you put the letters in the right order, you'll see purple button written there. That's the one. Mrs. West came to the police station asking to check on her husband. She said that he was in his office when she called him. Suddenly, she heard her husband fall to the floor, and about 10 seconds later, he hung up without saying anything. She called him again, then she came to his office, but he didn't open the door. The detective arrived at the office and found Mr. West unconscious. The detective was sure that the man wasn't alone in the room when it all happened. Why? Someone had to hang up the phone. If the man had suddenly fainted, the phone would have fallen on the floor. You work in a baggage storage room at the airport. 3 people come and give you their bags at the same time. Now, you don't remember who each bag belongs to. Take a look inside and try to figure it out. There's just one girl, so the bag with a dress inside probably belongs to her. The blind man doesn't need this mirror, which means that this bag must belong to the bald man. And the bald man doesn't need a hairbrush, so the third bag must belong to the blind man. Lilibet always wanted to have a cat, but her mom never allowed her to get one. Once, the girl found a kitten in the street and brought it home. She knew her mom would make her take it to the shelter, so she decided to hide the animal. Once Lilibet's mom walked into the girl's room and realized there was a cat living there. How did she know that? Look, the walls and the sofa are scratched at the bottom. Mrs. Jones was working a night shift. Her daughter, Emmeline, wanted a friend to stay with her, but Mrs. Jones didn't allow it because it was a school night. When the woman returned, she realized that Emmeline had still invited her friend over. How did the woman understand it? There's a pair of earrings in the bathroom. Mrs. Jones and Emmeline don't have their ears pierced, so these must belong to someone else. Daphne suspected that her boyfriend Dashiell had hacked her phone and was now reading all her messages. One day, Daphne and her friend Sophie decided to go to the park. Daphne invited her boyfriend too, so he could get to know her friend. When Dashiell arrived, Daphne broke up with him. Why? She didn't tell when they were going to meet, but Dashiell still arrived at the correct time. That's how she made sure he had indeed been checking her messages. Tony and Scarlett are best friends. They wanted to spend the summer together. Unfortunately, Scarlett's grandmother fell sick, and the girl had to go to another city for the whole summer to be with her. Tony missed her friend. That's why, from time to time, she walked past her house. In a couple of weeks, Tony realized that Scarlett had lied to her about staying with her grandma. She had been home all that time. How did Tony understand it? Look at the house. One day the window is open, and the next day it's already closed. Someone's definitely living there. Mr. York was a rich gentleman living in a mansion. Once his brother came to visit him. The next day, Mr. York called the police and said that a very expensive golden cup had been stolen from his collection. The only other person in the house was his brother, so he must be the thief. The police didn't believe Mr. York. Why? The spot where the cup was supposed to stand was just as dusty as the rest of the shelf. It means that nothing had been standing there for a long time. And, like always, crime doesn't pay. Hazel is a rock climber. She's packing bags for an expedition to Everest. Can you spot any extra items in her suitcase? It's unlikely that you would need these fancy high-heeled shoes in the mountains. Also, this fragile vase is useless on a hike. Hazel orders a taxi to go to the airport. She's using this app. There are 4 free cars in her neighborhood, but only one of them can reach Hazel's home. Can you tell which one? It's the third car. Hazel arrives at the airport. She takes a closer look at her ticket and faints. Can you guess why? The name of the airport on the ticket doesn't match the airport that she's in. Hazel needs to go to the correct airport as quickly as possible. These 2 drivers are eager to give her a ride. Can you tell who will reach the destination faster? Although the second car looks more expensive and chic, it has a flat tire. Therefore, Hazel should choose the first driver. Finally, Hazel boards her flight. She falls asleep right away. She wakes up in a while and realizes that someone has stolen her phone. Hazel questions 3 suspects. Bill says, "I've been watching a movie within the last hour. I didn't look around. Sorry." Kyle says, "I was sleeping too until you woke me up." And Sheila says, "I'm afraid of flying, so I listened to soothing music with my eyes closed." Can you guess who stole Hazel's phone? Nobody. She just dropped it on the floor over here. See? It's dinner time. Kyle offers Hazel his dessert if she succeeds in guessing the date of his birth. Here's a hint. The day before yesterday, Kyle was 22, and next year, Kyle will be 25. Can you help Hazel solve this mystery? Today is the 1st of January, and Kyle's birthday was on the 31st of December. Therefore, Kyle was 22 on December 30th. Then he turned 23 on December 31st. This year, he will turn 24, and the next year, 25. Finally, Hazel lands in Nepal. She enters the baggage claim area and sees 3 odd things right away. Can you see them too? There's a dog in this bag. Animals don't come with regular luggage. This baggage cart lacks all wheels and floats in the air. And these boats are parked outside the window along with the planes. Hazel arrives at the meeting point for climbers at the local restaurant. But there's no one there. The cleaning lady says, "I was busy cleaning the toilet and just got back. I didn't see anyone." The guard says, "Oh yeah, the meeting has been delayed for tomorrow, that's for sure." And the waiter says, "I've been here all the time, and I haven't noticed any crowds of tourists." Who's lying? The guard. See this sign? The meeting takes place on the roof. That's why they didn't see the tourists. On the way to the roof, Hazel sees a woman who's cleaning a window on the 10th floor. Suddenly, she slips and falls. She doesn't have any safety equipment and nothing to soften her fall. But yet, she's not hurt. How can this be? The woman was cleaning the window inside the building. Finally, Hazel meets her group of climbers. But one of these people is an impostor. Can you guess who? This guy has tentacles instead of a hand. He's definitely not from this planet. Hazel goes on an expedition with the group. She stops to take some pictures and gets lost. In a while, Hazel finds 3 roads leading to the next mountain village. But every path hides some adventure. There's a hungry snow leopard walking on the first path. There's a herd of Himalayan yaks on the second path. And Road 3 leads through an avalanche risk area. Any movement can make the snow slide down. Which way is more or less safe? Hazel should choose the second path. Although these yaks look pretty scary, in fact, they're friendly plant eaters. Hazel checks into the local hostel. She leaves her bags in the room and goes to see the sights of the village. After a while, she returns and finds out that someone had stolen her passport. Hazel calls the sheriff and he interrogates 4 suspects. The hotel manager says, "I was dealing with a tourist group that has just arrived. I didn't notice any robbers." The hostel owner says, "I was dealing with the bathroom clog all day." The gardener says, "I didn't enter the hostel. I was watering the roses in the garden." And the cleaner says, "I was too busy feeding fish in the lobby. I didn't notice anything suspicious." Who's lying? The cleaner. Can you see any aquariums in the lobby? Hazel visits a local restaurant. The cook offers her 3 meals to choose from. Can you help her pick the safest option? There's a worm in these instant noodles, and there are too many flies around this rice. It's probably not very fresh. So, Hazel should choose this sandwich. In the village, Hazel meets the local guide, Luke. He offers to show Hazel the shortest way to the top. But first, Hazel has to solve his riddle. Luke and his wife have 7 children. Half of them are sons. How is this possible? Can you help Hazel solve this mystery? They are all sons. Luke and Hazel begin the trip. On the way, he offers Hazel to visit the local magic caves. Hazel agrees, but eventually she gets lost inside one of the caves. She wanders around for a while and finds these 3 tunnels. There's a portal to the sun in the first tunnel. There's a box with an ancient magic gemstone inside the second tunnel. This gemstone curses anyone who sees it. And finally, the third tunnel hides a bunch of poisonous scorpions. Which way should Hazel choose to survive? The second one. The gemstone is locked in the box, so Hazel should just walk by it. Hazel needs to cross this toxic swamp to continue her trip. The only way to do so is to jump from one block to another. Can you help her choose the last stone wisely? Each block has a particular number: 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, and 21. This sequence is formed by adding the number 4. Therefore, the remaining block should be 25, not 27. Hazel continues her journey and finds this weird sign engraved on a rock. Can you help her crack the meaning of this code? The arrow is pointing to the right. The message is mirrored. If the POT is on the right, it means that the TOP, or top, is on the left. Now Hazel knows the right direction. It's getting really cloudy. It'll rain soon. Hazel decides to hide in one of these 3 caves and have some lunch. Can you help her pick the safest place to stay? Take a look at the tracks. The first cave is probably home to a family of bears. Mother bears can get furious when it comes to their cub protection. As for the second cave, it's obvious that a human being has entered it and come back out, which is encouraging. And now, let's take a look at the third cave. A human entered it but never came out. Therefore, Hazel should choose the second cave. Finally, Hazel reaches the top of the mountain. Suddenly, a kind wizard pops out of nowhere and greets her. He suggests Hazel relocate to a hidden magic world. He says, "I'll show you the gates if you solve my riddle. So listen carefully. I'm very fragile, and even just saying my name could break me. What am I?" Any ideas what it might be? The correct answer is silence. The wizard shows Hazel the gates. There are 3 doors, but only one of them leads to the magic world. Can you help Hazel figure this out? Only the second path leads to the final destination. Bye-bye!
Hey Sherlocks, I really need your help here. So, take out your magnifying glasses and join me on this detective chase. Look at this image. What's wrong here? These guys seem to be playing tennis, but they're using a tiny football. Now how about these people? One of them is from the future. Can you figure out who it is? Be very attentive. Right, it's this guy. He's got a smartphone in his pocket. This looks like a regular picnic in the park, but one of these people is a time traveler. Who is it? It's the guy with a USB port in his arm. A sailor has a piece of fabric that is 16 feet long. He cuts 2 feet of this fabric per day. How many days will he need to cut the whole cloth?
Your first answer might have been 8 days, but in fact, the sailor will only need 7 days. The last remaining piece of fabric will be 2 feet long, and the sailor won't need to cut it. Adam's car has broken down right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing? It's winter. Snowdrifts are huge, and the wind is freezing cold. Adam has to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he follows the first path, he'll have to deal with hungry wolves. The second one goes through an area inhabited by bears. And if he takes the third road, he'll have to cross a river covered with thin ice. Which is the safest way? Adam should sneak through the bear's territory. These animals sleep in winter. Look at this picture. Which cage, in your opinion, is the safest? It's the last one. Even though a scorpion sting is painful, it's rarely life-threatening. The next tricky brain teaser for you. Can you figure out who has stolen her computer? It's definitely the girl on the right. Look at the strange shape her hoodie has taken. One of these girls is a wanted criminal. But which one? It's the one with dark hair. She has the same mole as the girl in the photo. Now there is something terribly wrong in this image. Can you figure out what it is? Look at that snowdrift near the cactus on the right. It's a desert. What is a snowdrift doing there? Look at these people and try to figure out who will divorce soon. Most likely, it will be the couple on the right. Have you noticed that the woman has secretly given a note with her phone number to the bartender? After a natural disaster, there was a blackout in Sam's town. Some criminals used darkness to kidnap the guy for ransom. The building where he was kept had 3 doors. Sam could use one of them to escape. But the first door hid a trap that would crush anyone as soon as they entered. Behind the second door, there were chainsaws that could cut anything into pieces in no time. The flesh-eating acid was bubbling behind the third door. Which door should Sam choose? Chainsaws can't harm the guy because there's no electricity in the town, remember? Liza was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her father trying to control her life, so she decided to run away from home. She took some money and the most discreet car she could find in the garage and left. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back. That's why she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. One day, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said her room number was 710 and offered to show her where it was. Liza immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in the car, and sped away. Why? The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 710 is supposed to be on the 7th floor. But the hotel has only 2 floors. This must be a trap. A tourist who didn't speak English came up to the ticket counter at a New York subway station. One ticket cost 50 cents, and the man handed the ticketing clerk $1. The woman gave the tourist 2 tickets without even asking how many he needed. How did she know? The tourist gave her 4 quarters, and she immediately realized that if he needed just 1 ticket, he would have just given her 2 quarters. Ice melts when you heat it, but if you heat me, I'll become solid. Can you figure out what I am? I'm an egg. I'm weightless, but you can see me. And if you put me in a water bottle, it will become much lighter. What am I? Right you are. I'm a hole. After having had a fight with a powerful wizard, Louisa found herself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. She couldn't escape. Jumping out of the window was out of the question because it was too high above the ground. And the only tree growing next to that window wasn't sturdy enough for the girl to use it to climb down. At the same time, in the room where Louisa was locked, there were 3 doors. One of them could lead the girl to freedom, but behind the first door, a fire was raging. The second door held back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there was a maze filled with animal traps. Which door should Louisa choose to escape? Louisa should break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and then going through the maze. It won't be dark anymore, and the girl will easily avoid the traps. Now, your task is to crack a few Rebus puzzles. Be very attentive and try to think outside the box. What does this mean? Right, that's Big Sister. How about this Rebus puzzle? The correct answer is right between the eyes. Look at this one. That's good afternoon. What can you fill if your hands are empty? Well, this is confusing. How can I fill anything if there's nothing in my hands? You'll probably be able to figure it out. And the correct answer is gloves, or mittens if that's what you prefer. Mr. Wilson's company had some financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office.
They stole my safe with all the money I had.
The police officers who came to investigate this case asked the man why he was so sure that there had been several thieves.
Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry.
The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left some dents on the carpet, but the floor covering is perfectly smooth. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The detective jumped into his car and set off on a chase. Soon, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he'd seen the red bike.
No, I've only seen a silver convertible.
Then, the detective saw a gray car approach from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she had seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber? The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck. Mike has recently left his job. He's looking for a new, more exciting one. But so far, all his attempts have brought 0 results. Can you tell how many job interviews he has failed by looking at his apartment? Take a look at this schedule on the wall. In the previous month, Mike marked all working days with green color, and the weekends were red. At that time, he most likely still had his job. And the current month has 6 stickers with the letter I. Ike has most likely attended 6 interviews. Mike was losing hope when he found a weird letter in his mailbox. An elegant little note said, "If you manage to figure out our phone number, call us. We'll offer you a dream job." Can you help Mike see the number? It's 713819. Mike called this number. A mysterious voice asked him to solve a riddle. I make 2 people out of 1. What am I? In a minute, Mike received an official invitation to his dream job interview. What did he answer? A mirror. When Mike arrived at the meeting location, he found a large, gloomy building in the middle of nowhere. The door slammed shut behind the guy's back as soon as he got inside. Mike found himself in a hallway with 3 doors. He noticed a boat, an insect spray, and an astronaut suit on the floor. The same mysterious voice said, "You can choose only 1 tool and 1 door. Good luck." There are venomous spiders behind the first door. A hungry lion is waiting behind the second door. And finally, there's a swamp emitting toxic fumes behind the third door. What should Mike choose to pass this test and stay alive? He should pick the astronaut suit and the first door. Spiders won't be able to bite through the suit. In the next room, the voice offered Mike to have a coffee break, but the guy had to choose wisely because only 1 type of snack was safe to eat. Can you help Mike pick the right food? There are human nails in the cupcakes and cockroaches in these chips. The color of the meat in this burger is very suspicious. This sushi set looks rather edible, but its smell attracts too many flies. Mike should choose these donuts. They look fresh and appetizing. The cafeteria was filled with people. The voice told Mike to find a thief among them. Can you help Mike get some bonuses for his attentiveness? This woman over there is the thief. She's hiding spoons in her pocket. After lunch, Mike headed for the next room, but before the guy got inside, he had to solve a riddle to open the door. Some will use me, others will not. Some remember me, others forget. I can't be picked up off the ground or tossed into the sea. You can only gain me with time. What am I? The correct answer is knowledge. Mike entered a beautiful party hall filled with people in costumes and masks. The voice told Mike to go find 1 ghost, 1 zombie, and 1 thief among these people. Look at this crowd very attentively. Can you see them? The guy over there doesn't seem to have legs, and he's levitating. He must be a ghost. Look at this woman's food. Only zombies would eat that. And the woman over there is the thief. Her diamond ring doesn't fit her finger. Also, the ring is very similar to this lady's jewelry set. Mike tried to open the next door and receive a new question immediately. I look flat, but I'm deep. Hidden realms I shelter. Lives I take, but food I offer. At times I am beautiful. I can be calm, angry, and turbulent.
I have no heart, but I offer pleasure and freedom. No man can own me, yet I encompass what all men must have. What am I? Mike solved this riddle and entered the next room. Have you figured out the answer too? The correct answer is, I'm the ocean. Mike saw the next door, but whatever he did, he couldn't open it. He spotted an electronic lock on the door and a map of a maze on the wall. The voice said that Mike must solve the riddle to open the door. Can you help? If you go through the maze from start to finish, you'll get 6251. This is the code. When Mike finally entered the room, he saw a locked safe. The voice said that Mike's task was to open the safe. What buttons should he press? The puzzles present three colors: pink, white, and brown. Mike pressed the correct buttons and unlocked the safe, but he only found one small coin inside. The next room was empty, except for an old vending machine in the corner. Mike came closer and noticed a small key inside the machine. Suddenly, the walls began to move. The room was getting smaller and smaller. The voice told Mike to be careful because the vending machine was broken. Some wires were torn and mixed up. Which button should Mike press to get the key out and get out of the room before it's too late? Mike should use the coin from the previous challenge and press the fourth button. Then the voice asked Mike to find the odd image in this pattern. Can you help the guy? The couple over there is different. In another room, Mike met a nice elderly lady, Miss Jason. She was very upset because someone had broken into her apartment. Mike's task was to find the robber. He inspected the crime scene and questioned 3 witnesses. The cleaning lady, Sarah, said that she'd finished her work at 11 p.m. and left. Billy, a passerby, said that he'd seen a suspicious man in a mask in Miss Jason's window. Kelly, the neighbor, was visiting her boyfriend in another city. Who's lying? Billy. He's a passerby and just met Miss Jason. Then how come he knows which window is hers? It got very dark outside, but Mike's weird quest continued. He entered a jewelry store and its owner explained the guy his next task. Someone had broken into the store and taken the most expensive diamond jewelry. But luckily, the robber left their fingerprints on the shards of broken glass. There are 3 suspects: a werewolf, an elf, and a zombie. Can you help Mike find the real robber? It was the elf. He's the only creature among them with human-like fingerprints. Another door led Mike into a creepy lab. There, he saw a mad scientist playing a strange game with his patients. He asked them to choose between 2 pills. One of them was a harmless capsule with vitamins, while the other one was a sleeping pill. Somehow, the scientist managed to get the harmless pill every time he played this game, and his opponents always fell asleep. How was this possible, and what should Mike do to pass this test? Both pills were actually harmless. The scientist added a special substance to the glasses of water he offered his patients to wash down the pills. So, to stay awake, Mike should switch the glasses or simply refuse to drink any water. The next door was locked, but Mike saw 6 buttons with the images of a candle, fire, gloves, scissors, an apple, and a light bulb. The voice said, "I was carried into a dark room and set on fire. I wept, and then my head was cut off. What am I?" 1 minute later, Mike was already walking towards his next challenge. What button did he press to open the door? The button with the candle on it. Suddenly the lights went out. Mike slipped and fell into a swimming pool. Someone turned the light on again, and Mike saw 3 identical ladies in the pool. All 3 of them looked like ordinary women and claimed to be human. But in reality, 2 of them are mermaids. How can Mike find the real woman among them? He can dive and find the one without a tail. The mermaids told Mike that they wouldn't let him out of the pool until he solved another riddle. I'm so fast you can't see me, although everyone else can see straight through me. I'm with you until your last breath. What am I? Can you help Mike solve this riddle and escape? The correct answer is the blink of an eye. The mermaids let Mike go, and he entered the next room. On a huge screen, there were 2 guys. The first one was taking a selfie with a tornado. The second one was standing under an umbrella in the middle of a thunderstorm and taking pictures. Mike had to decide whose behavior is riskier. The tornado is very close. Therefore, the first guy is in greater danger. At the same time, the second guy will have enough time for another couple of shots. In the next room, Mike saw 5 zombies behind bars. All those guys were suspected of stealing a car. Mike had to decide which of them was the thief. Have you guessed? The guy on the left is sweating a lot, and zombies don't sweat and don't drive cars. He must be the thief. He's just wearing zombie makeup. Mike entered a kitchen. His task was to decide how many people lived in the house. Can you guess? Three people. There are 3 different drinks on the table and 3 chairs. Now look at this bathroom. How many people live in this apartment? Just 1. Take a look at this lonely toothbrush. And how many people live in this place? Two people. Look at the family portrait. Mike saw 3 musicians rehearsing for a performance in a garage. The voice announced his next task: to find 1 suspicious detail. Have you already spotted it? There's something wrong with this fire extinguisher. Finally, Mike found himself in an ordinary street. The voice said they had only 1 last question. What's the time? Mike had to choose between 3 options: 7 a.m., 3 p.m., or 11 a.m. Can you help Mike figure out the right time? The correct answer is 7 a.m. The streetlights are still on, but the sun is casting shadows from the east. Congratulations, Mike. You're hired.
Kevin and Jill moved in together several months ago. Can you guess how many months ago did they start living together by looking at this picture? There's a cleaning schedule hanging on the fridge. It has colored stickers with their names. They've been keeping this schedule for 5 months already. Therefore, they moved in together 5 months ago. New Year was coming, and Kevin invited Jill to spend the holidays in his parents' house. When they arrived, Kevin introduced Jill to his father and 2 brothers. Suddenly, Kevin's mother entered the house with her 2 best friends. They just came back home from the mall. Can you help Jill decide which of these 3 women is Kevin's mother? The third woman. The mole on her face is identical to Kevin's. Also, she's the only natural blonde among these women. Although the other 2 ladies also have blonde hair, their roots are dark. Kevin gave Jill a tour around the house. He offered her to play a game and guess on the second floor. She was supposed to guess which of the 3 bedrooms was Kevin's room where he lived with his parents. Have you guessed? the second room. Kevin's name was written on the wall. Although the graffiti was covered with paint, it could still be seen through. Besides, the interior of Kevin's current apartment also has some graffiti elements because he still pursues his hobby. Before the dinner, Kevin's brothers decided to prank Kevin and Jill and serve some snacks. There are 3 bowls with snacks, but only one of them contains edible snacks. Can you help Kevin and Jill choose the right bowl? The first bowl has spiders in it. The second bowl doesn't only contain chips, but also Lego parts. And there's a couple of dirty socks inside the third bowl. Therefore, the safest option is bowl number 2. They just need to be careful not to eat Lego parts. During the dinner, Kevin's mother has been asking Jill embarrassing questions. Jill told her 4 facts about herself. She graduated from college with honors. She doesn't have any tattoos. Jill and Kevin met each other online. Her favorite color is blue. But only 3 facts are true. Which one is false? Jill does have a tattoo. Take a look at her ankle. Next morning, the entire family gathered in the living room to have breakfast and unpack Christmas gifts. Can you guess what gift is from Kevin's mother to Jill? This blue box. It's the only gift wrapped in a different color than others. Kevin's mother probably learned that Jill would come over after having wrapped all the gifts for her family. Besides, Jill mentioned that she loved blue color. Kevin and Jill went hiking nearby Kevin's hometown. It started to snow, and they decided to spend a romantic night in the woods. They rented a lovely cabin. Next morning, Jill got out of the bed and saw that their backpacks had disappeared. Take a look at this picture. Can you guess who stole their stuff? Kevin's brothers decided to prank them. There are traces of 2 people on the snow, and one of the brothers dropped one of his purple gloves. Kevin's brothers jumped out of a barn where they hid. They decided to go for a walk and found a secret base in the mountains. It was well guarded, but Kevin's brother Mike found an open door. The door slammed shut just as Mike got inside. He saw 3 pots in front of him. There was a fire in the first one. The second one was full of acid, and there was a working electric saw in the third pot. Suddenly, a mysterious voice said, "You can get a key from one of the pots to break free, but you can't move the pots." How did Mike escape? He pulled icicles from the ceiling and threw them into the first pot. The icicles melted and put the fire out. The guys continued their journey. Soon after, they decided to stop and have a quick snack. Kevin's second brother, Andy, spotted a cave. As soon as he entered the cave, the way out disappeared. Now he must choose between 3 doors. There are poisonous scorpions behind the first door. There's a sleeping potion behind the second door, and he would have to drink. Finally, there's a hungry tiger behind the third door. What should Andy do to escape? He should grab the sleeping potion, pour it over his sandwich, and throw the food at the hungry tiger. When the tiger falls asleep, he'll be able to escape through the third door. Jill, Kevin, Andy, and Mike headed home when they noticed cougars moving toward them. The guys started running away and saw a tunnel. It was very dark and scary. They only have 12 minutes to cross it. It takes Mike 1 minute to cross the tunnel, Andy 2 minutes, Jill 4 minutes, and Kevin 5 minutes. The guys decided to split into 2 pairs, but they only have 1 flashlight, and there's no way they go in there in 4. How can they escape? Andy and Mike should walk through the tunnel with the flashlight in 2 minutes. Then Mike returns. They still have 9 minutes. Kevin and Jill run through the tunnel with the flashlight and give it to Andy. It will take another 5 minutes. Then Andy should run to Mike, and they will escape together with the remaining 2 minutes. Kevin and Jill returned home, but the adventure continued. Someone robbed their apartment yesterday. They called the police and questioned the neighbors. Dan said that he had spent all holidays at work and didn't come home at all. Vicky was wearing headphones because she was making music, so she couldn't hear any suspicious sounds. And Emily spent the holidays at her sister's place because construction workers had to finish renovations in her apartment. Who is lying? Emily. If they finished renovations, why is her apartment a giant mess? 2 years later, Kevin and Jill decided to get married. On the wedding day, Kevin noticed that Jill had forgotten her wedding necklace in his bag. He went to her dressing room to get the jewelry, but when he got there, he saw 3 identical Jills wearing identical dresses. Jill's father is a scientist. He decided to test Kevin's feelings before the wedding and made 2 clones of his daughter. Help Kevin find his real bride. It's the third one. She has a tattoo on her ankle, remember? And her clones don't, because tattoos don't impact genetics. Jill went downstairs to say hi to her bridesmaids. But when she saw them, Jill began to yell at her dad because he pranked her with his mad scientific tricks once again. One of the bridesmaids was a cyborg. Can you guess who it was? This elegant lady over here. What is she doing with her head? Kevin's mother was responsible for the wedding banquet. But when she entered the kitchen and saw the food served by the catering company, she got very upset. She called the company's office and started to yell at the manager, telling them to fix the disaster immediately. Can you guess what made her so upset? Look at the top of the cake. There are 2 green goblins instead of the bride and the groom. Kevin and Jill went to the Caribbean for their honeymoon. The hotel looked rather creepy, but they decided to stay there anyway. The hotel employee asked the newlyweds to choose a room from the remaining options. Can you help Kevin and Jill pick a good room? There were weird stains on linen in the first room. There's a spider web on the chandelier in the second room. And the third one looks pretty good. Jill decided to chill in the swimming pool. On her way to the dressing room, she noticed a TV in the hall and heard some breaking news. Someone spotted a zombie in town. The creature probably went downtown, and it could be anywhere. Zombies are not very good at swimming and move very slowly. Jill entered the dressing room and met 3 people. Can you tell who the zombie is? There's a bandage on this woman's leg. No one would go to a swimming pool if they had cuts or stretches unless they're a zombie. In the hotel room, Kevin found a secret door leading to a tunnel. He walked through the tunnel and found storage full of diamonds. Suddenly, prison bars appeared around Kevin out of nowhere, and a mysterious voice said, "You can take all the diamonds and leave safely if you manage to choose the right potion to escape." There were 3 options. The first potion will make Kevin invisible. The second potion will turn him into a bird. And the third potion will make him super tall. In 5 minutes, Kevin returned to Jill with a huge bag of diamonds. Which potion did he choose? The second one. He turned into a small bird that flew through the bars. The next morning, Jill woke up stuck on a small, flat, deserted island. It raised up 40 feet, and all around the base are jagged rocks and shark-infested waters. The island was covered in a dry, flammable vegetation. Suddenly, lightning struck the easternmost point of the island and a huge fire started. The wind made the fire burn in a perfectly straight line across the island, with no gaps in the fire line. The fire was burning quite intensely, and she couldn't vault it or put it out. Jill cannot jump or traverse the rocks, and the wind won't change direction. How can she survive? Jill can start a fire herself, which will burn behind her. By the time the main fire gets there, she will be surrounded by an already burned area, and the main fire will not harm her. Also, since there was lightning, it probably rained soon after. The rain could put out the fire, and Jill would survive. Wow, what a crazy honeymoon. I think I'd just stay home.
Several birds landed on trees, one bird for one tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped, with two birds sitting on one tree. After this, one tree was left. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who's going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. You wake up and find yourself in a locked room without windows and only one door. You look around and notice a table. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. You pick up the note. It reads, "To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon bursts, you'll stay here forever." What should you do to make a hidden door open in one of the walls? You should deflate one of the balloons. After that, you can easily puncture it with a knife. You're walking along the beach and spot an expensive-looking watch in the sand. There are only 3 other people on the beach. Who does the watch belong to? This guy's watch is in his pocket. The tan line on this girl's wrist doesn't match the shape of the watch. The watch must belong to this elderly lady. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How do you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. 3 young men came to a coffee shop to prepare for their final exam. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first guy said, "I don't know." The second man answered, "Nah, I don't know." And the third one answered, "Yes." Can you figure out what the first 2 guys ordered? All young men ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first 2 couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first 2 guys hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So when the third guy heard his friend's replies, he figured out that both of them wanted coffee. And since he was going to get a cup, he said yes. You have to think outside the box to crack this one. 1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters. The word 3 has 5. And the word 5 has 4 letters. But the word 4 has 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8 and you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Look at these women attentively. Which one seems to be suspicious? It's the one on the right. The woman on the left was just adding some ketchup to her dish. See that bottle? But look at the pie the woman on the right is holding. There's a smartphone peeking out of the pie. What's it doing there? It's very suspicious. The police knocked on Michael's door late in the evening. They had a search warrant. They accused the man of stealing a big sum of money from a supermarket. Mike claimed that he hadn't left the house all day, but one of the detectives saw something in his living room, and it led to the man's arrest. What was it? Look at the date on the receipt lying on the table. It's the same as the date on the calendar, which means Michael lied about not leaving his house that day. Look at these guys attentively. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. An ant is 2 inches away from its home. With every next step, it covers half the distance to the entrance. How many steps will the insect have to take to reach its destination? The ant will never reach the door because every time it'll travel only half the distance. Now, how about solving some Rebus riddles? This is the first one for you. High, 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 high. That's high five. The next one, noon good. What's this? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. Way, progress. It's progress underway. Now let's check how attentive you are. Try to figure out what's wrong in the following images. There's no way anyone can wear those blue shoes. They're both left ones. How about this one? This horse looks rather natural among kangaroos, but it doesn't belong there. What's wrong in this picture? Why would a barn have a chimney? I suspect something is missing in this picture. Can you figure out what exactly? The bus doesn't have side mirrors and windshield wipers. Detective Lucas was called to investigate an accident. A car crashed into a store window and smashed the glass. There are 2 suspects. Both of them denied their involvement. Detective Lucas doesn't need much time to figure out who the culprit is. Do you know the answer too? It's the owner of the blue car. The pattern on its tires is the same as in front of the store. Detective Brown was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then some loud shouting. She ran outside and spotted a man on the ground. His bicycle was lying nearby. There was also a car sitting next to the man. Detective Brown helped the cyclist up. The car driver came up to them. The cyclist exclaimed, "He hit my bike with his car, making me crash." But the driver answered, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. I left my car to check on him." Detective Brown immediately understood who was lying. Can you figure it out? Strangely, the car doesn't have side mirrors, and all that stuff in the back seat blocks the view of the road, so the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. A man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears. But in this case, the bandana covers the robber's ears. It probably hides something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be that man with only one ear. When Louisa entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Anna was very upset. It was the beginning of the working day, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Louisa questioned her colleagues. Maria, who worked in IT, said she'd been fixing somebody's computer. Jane, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. Andrew, a sales manager, said,
I've just returned from a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted.
Can you figure out who took the purse? Andrew, the working day's just started. How could he come back from such a long meeting?
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.